Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and welcome to another episode of the Daily Red for Anfield Index. It is Sunday, the 21st of December, not long left till the big day. Although you might be thinking the 1st of January is because Christ alive, do we need some new players through the door? I'm your host, Dave Davis, coming to you from... It's just one of those days in Edinburgh, isn't it? Those sort of quiet, misty days. Everyone is plotting their Christmas shopping in different bits. And if I've got any advice for you, do not go to the shops. I know there's only one game, I think, on today, but it is just going to be a madness for the next few ones. But we're here to talk about Liverpool, aren't we? And it's such a weird one, this, because we beat Spurs. Liverpool are on a little bit of a run, aren't they? They beat Inter Milan in the San Siro. They've now beat Spurs. They beat Brighton at home, back-to-back victories. So you could look at that as a positive. You could look at the fact they've only conceded one goal in all that time. You could look at the fact that who's getting on the score sheet and regularly. And yet, that's not quite the feeling of you all in the fan base, is it, this morning, if you're honest? Now, everyone's entitled to an opinion. There's different reactions either end. Of course, there is. It's Liverpool. Sometimes it is just a dumpster fire on social media. But let's look at some official bits because the league table is looking a little bit better. It's still not perfect by any means. But as you see, the Reds are up to 5th. They are now level on points with Chelsea at the same time, 29th. They are only 4 behind Aston Villa, but they do play United later on as well. So it is looking a bit healthier for that table and the overall picture. And actually, trying to be, looking at other things, that they have got Wolves with 2 points to play at home on the 27th. Don't say it. Just don't say it. And then, of course, New Year's Day at home against Leeds. They're not bad fixtures either at the same time. However, that isn't how you're feeling, is it? And as Real Talk 8665 says there, it's not the standard of champions. I think it's the standard of football, the quality, the style, things that we're not liking as well, using things like weak mentality. Bit boring as well. I mean, you take a look at some of the stats there. You like the top one, don't you? Well, you like the top two. You like the scoreline. You like the fact that we had 65% possession in this game. But look at some of these stats. XG, 0.66. Spurs over 1. Total shots, 8 to their 15. Shots on target, 4 apiece. Big chances, 2 to 1, which is what the scoreline ultimately ended up being. And there is a little bit of skew there because Spurs got a lot of those chances or shots in that little period at the end, didn't they? But it just wasn't great, if you're honest. I mean, up until that Xavi Simons red card, it's all right to say this. It's a bit boring. That was honestly what we were messaging mates back and forth, probably exactly the same as you were. It was just a bit boring. There was, after the sending off, there was a little bit of a period for Florian Wirtz, but it just wasn't great. And it's interesting, there's K-Max put there, which seems to be the sentiment from many of you. It just isn't sustainable. There are a few positives. Can't just all be negative. We won, for God's sake. But you look at the Premier League scorers. Look at that. Hugo Ekitike moves into joint 3rd there with 8. Doesn't half love getting in the goals at the moment. And a certain Antoine Semenyo just behind him. But you can probably see I'm trying to give it a sense of positive. But I don't think it's really there for you. I don't think it's there for me too much. There's a lot of question marks around what's going on. Now, it's worth listening to Arne Slot because he said quite a few things after the game, and I'm going to pull out a few things as well. And especially, they had 9 men. Not for all of it, but for a period, 9 men. They had 10 men for a little bit of the first half and the entire second half as well. And Arne Slot referenced this post-match. just have a listen to this question. I thought it was a good question from a journo and the answer that he gave.
It was also difficult those 10 minutes to stoppage time. How pleased were you to see Christian Romero get sent off and just make it that little bit easier for those last few?
I thought it would mean that it was a bit easier, but in reality it wasn't. So, of course, they still had the free kick, and I know what a special player Porto is and how good of a free kick he has. He showed that already with the corner kick he took, which led eventually to the goal in some other moments. So I thought let's first survive this free kick. And to be honest, I thought against 9, we will probably be able then to keep them away from our goal. But it looked as if we were down to 9 and they were with 11, because it was attack after attack after attack, which didn't lead to a goal.
I mean, he's smiling a bit there, but I can see from the comments and general thoughts, there's not many of you doing the same. He was right. It seemed at times as though we were down to 9 and they had 11. And I mean, I think there's so many question marks around Arne Slot. Don't get me wrong. But there were some brain dead decisions on that pitch yesterday, wasn't there, at times? I mean, it should almost become like a training exercise when they've got 9. Keep the ball spread out. Be smart in what you're doing. Do you actually need a manager to tell you that? Yeah, I think as Chills made a good point. I didn't hear the manager shouting instructions to keep losing the ball or just whacking it long, like Alisson was quite often on occasions at the same time. I think as much as I've got criticisms of Arne Slot recently, the game management is just brain dead, isn't it, at times? And also with the weak mentality, and you can ask about where that comes from, the coaching element, but sometimes you've got to look at some players. And ultimately, for certain things to balance it up, Skipper's fault for the goal, wasn't it? BBD, I think, he's screaming and shouting at the end, but he takes an air shot like you see in school-level football, and Konate's actually going to clear it. But he leaves it because Virgil, and then, shouting and blaming everyone else. Yeah. Doesn't mean, we're excusing Arne Slot of anything, and we've got a lot of question marks. But let's just have a listen to what he also said about the game.
Get it in the Champions League, we've done quite well with a very difficult draw. I think I see a lot of teams that have hardly ever points, but we haven't faced them. So I think it's never been as bad as people said. But it's also true that we are definitely not perfect yet. But we knew this when we made so many changes in the summer that it would take time. Maybe because we won the first 5 or 6 games, everybody thought, this will just go so easily. But as a club, ownership, Richard, Michael, all the other people knew that change could also go with different results, and that is shown to be true.
There's a few things to pick out there, isn't it? May take time. Yeah, I think you've got to be fair. We knew it could take time. There'd be a bit of hit and miss, and new players settling. Of course, that could always happen, but not to this level. Not to breaking all the records for defeats. Was it 4 wins in 15 at the time as well? And also that we are nearly at Christmas times. You would really hope to see patterns of play, progressive football, and it's exactly the opposite that you see it at the moment. Yeah, there's been little bits and there's magic in the game, which we'll talk about from 2 of the signings, of course. And obviously there's a winner from another signing, but you're just wondering, and it's funny that he says, he's now mentioning them, isn't he? Richard Hughes, Michael Edwards, understood that as well. You do wonder how understanding they are for what we're seeing at the moment. Because it really isn't great on the eye, is it? But it's a win. It's 3 points. And sometimes that's what matters. And you move forward from there. But again, I see some of you in the chat panel. I get it. More answers than questions. In terms of questions you have got and you're praying for good answers, injuries is a big concern now. They're just stacking up. I mean, before the game, we had Gakpo out, we had Endo out. You know, they were just starting to build on top of what we've already got. And then, of course, this. And as we tweeted there, please no, because I see quite a few of you go, and in the title, I think it's been put as ACL. The reason we put that is Physio Scout, a well-known account, had suggested that, hasn't it? But it is important to say afterwards, and since then, as James Pearce reported here, Liverpool faced an anxious wait to learn the extent of Isak's injury, suspected lower leg problem rather than knee. Hope is that Bradley is not too serious and that Wirtz is only cramp, but scans needed for confirmation. So now we're waiting on 3 updates, aren't we? Starting with Alexander Isak. You know, praying to baby Moses and all the orphans that is as good as it can be, is maybe the right way of phrasing it. And I know Real Talk there saying Allison said Isak was fine. A lot of people are just quoting one line from that interview that Allison gave to Astra Sports. If you watch the clip for the 3.5 minutes or so that it is, he does say, actually, when he expands on it further, that hopefully it's not too bad, maybe a couple of weeks. So he's not just said, or if you just isolate that line, Allison, I know his wife, I think, is a doctor, but Allison is not a medical professional. And also, if you watch the full interview, he says a bit more. So there's that. Connor Bradley. And you're thinking, why are you mentioning Connor Bradley? Because Arne Slot mentioned him post-match as well in terms of injury, as he said, which Connor Bradley, for example, did, but I had to take him off as well because he couldn't go on. But if a player doesn't try to come back, that's not usually a good thing, because he was linking that to the Isak situation. So, I mean, I want to be fair here. Connor Bradley, Alexander Isak's injury record is sketchy. That's just a fact. You can't argue with that at all. But we are unlucky there as well, aren't we? Both contact injuries, it's important to say. And could be anything be more Liverpool this season than Isak doing his best moment of the season, a lovely finish, lovely move, and then that. So we're just praying and waiting. I don't even know what a good result is. I think some people suggest that if it's ankle, maybe 6 weeks. You just have to pray, don't you? And Wirtz, Christ, we need him to be fit as well, don't we? Because Dominic Szoboszlai is now suspended for Wolves, isn't he? So he's out for that game after picking up his 5th yellow card. But you just hope it's cramp, as it says, for Florian Wirtz. Because if Wirtz is out as well, just think of the attackers you're missing currently. Wirtz, Isak, Salah, Gakpo. You're looking very light all of a sudden there, aren't you? Very, very light. So we'll get the news maybe in the next week or so, the next few days. Just got to pray it's positive. But Florian Wirtz, you know, he talked afterwards and maybe echoed some player sentiments, as he said, 3 points are everything when he talked officially. He said it was a crazy game. He was quite honest, and I thought he was right in what he said here. In the first half, we had a few counter-attacks against us, which we can do better from defensively. But all in all, for 70 minutes, it was a very good game for us. They got a set piece, and we conceded a goal. I'm not sure it was a very good game. I mean, he was man of the match. It's one of those where you're saying, I don't really look at it and say anyone was 9s out of 10s, for instance. It's just, we won. There was maybe an 8 here and there, but nothing special. Just, if you're honest, up to the first half, you can't even remember much of it until Simmons gets that red card and then Wirtz has a few. But that was it. Yeah, and then the second half, we know what happened from there. Then another little thing, because, you know, we shouldn't just all be negative. We should try and balance everything. Nice that Nyoni makes his Premier League debut, because Arne Slot is basically just trying to get every single midfielder he can on the pitch, it seems a little bit. That's 9 times he's played for Liverpool at senior level, but a nice little touch for Trey to get that. And interesting, which Chill said, Chiesa might get a game. Maybe, possibly, potentially. But would you put money on it? We'll have to see. And just in case, probably a last one, Arne Slot did talk in this press conference about injuries, which we are now really waiting for the updates on. But just in case you missed it, here's what he said.
With Alex and with Connor, we have to wait. And you could see our bench today as well, but this is not for the first time in the last few weeks. And we're picking up points, and that's the main thing. We're not the only team that suffers injuries in this period in England because we play so many games. This is quite normal that teams have injuries in this period of time. Jeremy has no problem at all. I didn't want to go down to 10 men for 30 seconds. I think this is the only country where if players are injured, they need to go 30 seconds off. With a head injury, even 45. So I adapted to that. I knew there wasn't long to play, and I thought we struggled a lot with a +1. So playing 10v10 for half a minute with him being on the floor, yes or no, then just go with Federico. So no problem with him. And to be honest, I thought against 9, we will probably be able then.
And we won't go into what he said previously, but yeah, we're waiting for injuries. People who had the clamour for Chiesa, he might not really have a choice. I mean, I'm not going to jump to the Wolves game, but it's possible you could be looking at a front line of Chiesa, Ekitike and Frimpong, couldn't you? Because who else is available? Zabozlai's out as well. So you'd think Jones, McAllister and Gravenberch are going to be there at the same time. Will be interesting to see what he does on that. And just for another bit of injury news we got yesterday, late on, just in case you missed it, Endo expected to be sidelined with an ankle injury until at least mid-January, with a return later in the month also being a potential option. Not that I'm sure Arne Slot really considers Wataru Endo a potential option. Probably thinks he just plays Big Red or Mighty Red or whatever that mascot's called. But again, we'll see what bodies we get. And I know you're going to be saying in the chat panel, transfer window, of course, we'll have a little chat about that. But ultimately, in terms of player praise, there's one man I really want to focus on. Hugo Ekitike. Look at that yesterday. 1 goal, 1 chance created, 19 out of 24 passes completed, 2 out of 3 aerial duels won, including bullying Christian Romero, 100% shot accuracy, and 5 touches in the opposition box. Now, I can say this, honestly, I think a lot of us felt this yesterday as a few mates were messaging. It wasn't good, but nothing was sticky. And early on, you were just thinking, Ekitike's getting beaten by Romero, getting beaten by Van de Ven quite easily. He wasn't really holding it, wasn't he? And again, sometimes there wasn't much support for him. That's fair to say at the same time. So you're thinking, how are we going to slip him in? How's this going to work? And even when the red card happened for Xavi Simons, you're thinking, okay, Isak on maybe, give him a partner, try something different. So you wondered. But what I liked about that goal, that's different to what we've seen recently from Hugo Ekitike. Think of your Leeds one, where you give the keeper the eyes and slot it into the corner. The second one coming on to the end of it, diving in. You think of the Brighton one, don't you? Where in terms of the first minute, literally, the instinctive flick and the finish on the volley, great. The unmarked header, it's fair to say, against Brighton, but this was a little bit different. This was bullying Romero, getting up early. I'll be honest, I didn't know if he had that in his locker. But he does. And now what's that put him on? Is it 11? We'll rump in the Community Shield because we need to take everything we can get this season. But I think that puts him on 11 goals and an assist for the season. And if you have seen it, as Nikolai mentions there, his social media is a good one, isn't it? That one where he's just, you can see Romero just going as he's absolutely bodying him. Hugo Ekitike, sensational at the moment. Woofed. It's just, he seems to be the one, what do you call it, shining light, the one we're pinning our hopes on, if that makes sense at the moment. We'll see. Christ, he needs to stay fit, touch wood. But in terms of if we look at AI and the normal stuff that's going there, as we mentioned, some stories there. Arne Slot shares his honest thoughts on Liverpool's opinions. David Lynch was quite honest as well within takeaways from the game, pretty much that it wasn't great, but it's 3 points. Gag said on his show that, it masks deeper issues. I think we are literally papering over the cracks, that famous phrase. It is the right way of putting it. And there is a little bit of transfer talk. Of course there is, with everything that's going on at the same time. And this player, I suspect we're going to mention him right the way up until the 10th of January. I think his clause ends at the latest. But there's different reports. And look at that for a headline. Antoine Semenyo reveals preferred club ahead of January transfer race. Now, this actually comes, as it says, a report, which is according to The Guardian. So Jamie Jackson, The Guardian reporter, who is actually a United fan and covers them predominantly, did say that United, City, Liverpool, all last, but Liverpool are the front runners at the moment, which corresponds a little bit to what Lewis Steele's been saying. Liverpool have put a lot of effort in over the last 12 months. Could that stand them in good stead? So that's something to consider. On the other hand, Ben Jacobs and TalkSport have very much mentioned that Alex Crook as well, that City have come into the mix there. That they are, the front runners and most likely to end up there. And I'll be honest, doing a bit of digging around, because we do when these things happen at Anfield Index, the City side do seem to think that Semenyo will pick them. They are quite bullish and, confident of that, which could be true. But at the same time, they were the same with Florian Wirtz, weren't they? And look what happened there. So you're never quite sure. United, well, maybe they might pay him 300 grand a week to play wing back. Who knows? That might be possible. It wouldn't surprise you at all, would it? I just don't think there's anything definite with Antoine Semenyo. And you saw Indy's tweet saying that, oh, by the way, he's agreed terms with United, City and Liverpool. All believable, isn't it? Bournemouth know what's going to happen. They're probably thinking, can we do a deal where, because clubs don't necessarily want to pay that release clause, think of your FFP and how it'll be on the books. Maybe people will pay a bit more. And then other people bringing it in, like Real Talk, saying the Hughes Bournemouth factor. I think it's all still on the table for Antoine Semenyo. Nothing certain at all. Won't have too long to wait to find out. And actually, I know a few of you will be thinking, well, if Isak's bad, there's Gakpo injured, Salah out for AFCON. Semenyo, a pacey attacker that can play on both sides, physical, might not be the worst thing right now. But then again, some of you like me will be thinking, defensive options, a DM, progression from the back, aren't they more pressing problems at the moment? The fact that Florian Wirtz has to drop deep to make things happen quite often. Curtis Jones dropping into almost the defence to get the ball because we can't progress it from there. Aren't those priorities? I'll have to see what Richard Hughes and Michael Edwards think very shortly. In terms of other news, and this is one for the summer, as it says there, the Bastoni link won't go away, will it? Liverpool ready for opportunity to sign Serie A defender, but in summer 2026. His eventual long-term successor, as that keeps coming up, to Virgil van Dijk. Now, Liverpool are going to have to sign centre-halves because Joe Gomez's fitness, the Ibu is most likely to leave. We've got no indication he's staying at the moment, have we? Joe Gomez's injury. So you're going to have to sign centre-halves. And happy birthday to Giovanni Leone, but we know his injuries at the moment as well. So names will flow with Liverpool a little bit, won't they? Like Bastoni, like Schlotterbeck, and other ones that I suspect, of course, they've had a look at. But it brings it back to that question, how realistic do we think this is? And of course, there's things to like about Bastoni. I'm sure you probably watched Serie A on various channels. I've watched him. I look at his FB ref profile as well, and I see, his progressive passing element, carries, his passes attempted. He plays in a back three, of course, with Inter. But for me, the big thing that's going to count against him is the fee for a guy who's going to be 27 in the summer. And I don't think this will end up happening. I could be wrong, but spending big money on a 27-year-old centre-back, when other people be thinking, well, Mark Gay's on a free, we don't need to go into the old centre-back talk too much because we talked about it to death, but Jack A, all those types of things, we're all waiting for stuff to develop. I'm just really struggling to see now. I think Bastoni's time may have come and gone. Who knows, though? We'll have to wait till summer to find out. One that might be in the mix a little bit earlier, and this is important to say, Buardi, a player we mentioned before on the transfer show and transfer market metrics. Liverpool absolutely have had a look at this kid, 18, just signed the new deal. Lille have done very well to get him to commit to that, but that's more, as it says, for asset protection, it seems. There's Chelsea, there's us in there for him as well, somewhere around the 40 million mark. And as the Mirror reported, PSG, City, United, us all closely monitoring. And there you go. 50 million euros, just over 43 million. If you change him at Tesco, is what they want for that boy. Again, mentioned before with Buardi, he's one of those. He's got a lot to like when you watch the footage in his FB ref, and he is so young. It might just come at the wrong time, is the indications that we got when digging at Anfield Index. That, yes, they think that he is a special talent. Yes, they do think he'll go on to great things. But is he the DM or the player that Liverpool need right now? They don't think so, is our indication. But they also understand that if you don't do it now and you do want him, he's probably going to be 100 million. And also they understand that there's a lot of other Premier League clubs have a serious interest in this kid. Chelsea, because they just have a kink for young players, don't they, that they can stockpile in the first place. Arsenal seem very keen on him. Berta and Arteta mentioned a lot in the reporting over the last 6 months. Might just be one that Liverpool look and go, nice to have, need right now. I'm not sure they will do it at all. We'll have to see, though, because we are talking about this in the New Year's deals. I think it's fair to say, because we've played our last game before Christmas. So you do, of course, you've got the 2 games coming up, but you do start to think about who do we need and what are we going to do in January. And it's understandable, like me, if you're a bit thinking, look at the injuries in attack now, look at the defensive lack of numbers and what we need. We're flogging the midfielders to death. I think we'd all be really, I think it's okay to be surprised, but massively disappointed if stuff wasn't happening early January. And we suspect it is. The names have been mentioned, haven't they? You can reel through them. Semenyo, Jack A, Gay, of course, all these. Maybe there'll be an unexpected one. But Liverpool need to be active in January. You can't just be leaving it all to the summer, especially when we go shopping for centre halves. People will know our desperation. They'll know we need to get people in. And also, the other thing to say is, Arne Slot alluded to this, Liverpool will leave holes in the squad. Arne Slot alluded to the risk, at right back and having to play other players there. They've done it before under FSG. Don't believe for 1 second that, of course, they will solve all our ills in January. Spoiler alert, they won't. But again, we'll have to see what unfolds in this one. In terms of AI content, ladies and gents, absolutely pouring out the hole it's been for you recently. That even in the last sort of 24 hours, you had Gags and Grizz talking about the diamond, talking about, obviously, Semenyo and different bits. You had the post-match stuff as well. You had Gags. You had the Raw Boys as well. Not the most positive reactions from both of those, it's fair to say, if you want to listen. But we'll see. We'll see what this week brings. It's still only 1 game a week, isn't it? As in, it's the 27th when Wolves come to town. Who've got 2 points in the Premier League. So being honest, I care about the injuries. But in terms of that result, they are no excuses. You should be beating Wolves at home. You then got New Year's, haven't you? New Year's Day when Leeds come. So you want to see good results continue, because if you're going to have to watch some of this boring football, at least get the results and move up that table. But you also want to start to hear soon contracts for players existing, new people coming in. Maybe in the short term, you are just fingers crossed on Isak, Bradley, and Wirtz, because that squad can look threadbare all of a sudden, can't it? We will see. We're hoping for good news across the board. And it is good to just remind ourselves that we did win yesterday, but there's a lot of question marks. Maybe looking at the chat panel, more questions for some than answers. Let's hope we get good news updates across the board this coming week. But on Sunday, the 21st of December, that was another Daily Red for Anfield Index.